you build something internally, and then that turns into a product. Um, how do you think that helped shape like what it ultimately became? And maybe it like helps to step back and kind of talk about like how users interact with Sanity or how they were interacting with Sanity at that time. Um,
Yeah, let's talk about like what it is, maybe. Yeah, exactly. Like what is it? It's a it's a it's a to the content team. It's a CMS. It's a admin dashboard. It's where you create your content, where you configure your stuff, where you do the day-to-day operational things. In And of course, it's very often is websites, but it can be all kinds of things. It's used for everything from dummy training programs for like first aid systems. And I realized today it's used for Norwegian tax law, managing Norwegian tax law. I didn't know that. So it's used for a lot of different things, but the point is like the way most people meet it is as an admin tool to run some kind of content operation. And to a developer, it's a framework. It is a framework for building a CMS. Of course, it's super easy. You can just the easiest thing you can do is just define a number of content models, and you just run it, and it's a CMS. But then it has all kinds of if you're a front-end developers with React kind of capabilities, you can do everything with it, like everything. Then you can automate things, you can create custom workflows, you can build all kinds of stuff. And that was kind of our, like when we were creating this, my kind of anger was partly like, one thing is I want this database system. Also, I care about my users, and in one sense, my users is the content team. Like my actual customer is all me. It isn't their customers. That's their customers. I want to invest in them. Like I want to talk to the business development team, realize what they are spending their time on, and have the ability to create something that really helps them. That's why I wanted it to be super customizable, the way only code can be. But then still, the kind of principle is that anything that's generic like queuing things, real-time collaboration, comments, tasks, like all those things, we just take that away. You don't have to build any of that. But anything that you need to, like we watched today this demo of this tax law system, lots of bespoke workflows, like a new law is changed, is triggering this workflow for interpreting that law for some kind of team that knows about, like, I guess they are lawyers probably. That kind of stuff. So it's kind of both a system for line of business applications in a sense, like for these kind of internal tools, but it also is a system that now scales to, I mean, it's used by SKIMS, like Kim Kardashian's clothes brand. This system, like Sanity, is used directly during kind of Black Friday at SKIMS. That's like a denial of, like, an ongoing 1 week denial of service attack. Our APIs handle that with no kind of middleware. So like Sanity is the system that you can use to build, and it's very cheap on the free plan. You can use it to build your boyfriend's dog walking app for no cost. But it scales to like planet-wide. Kind of Burger King is using it to run all of the kind of menus worldwide. Used by SKIMS to run the content operations for the. It's used by Unilever and AT&T for their kind of corporate sites. So it's like, and that was one of the things we wanted. We wanted this thing as a developer. I hate like having to learn all of these different systems. The point of Sanity was supposed to be able to kind of scale to all these different use cases. That was a lot of different stories in one. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I find it interesting that you think about Sanity as a database. I think that kind of like a lot of like the realizations come out of that. And one of the things you call Sanity in your blog posts and your docs is a content operating system.
Yep.
So like what would you say are the parts that go into a good content operating system and what you've done at Sanity?
Thank you. Exactly. No, that we struggled for the longest time, to be honest, to figure out like what to, because we didn't feel that headless was like I said, like it didn't really cover what we were going for. It was such an obvious thing. Like everything is headless, of course. Like if you add an API and now you're headless, like that's not really the thing. The thing for us was, and content operating systems kind of means two things to us. From the developer in me, content operating system means it's like a platform to build the kind of the foundation to build all of these, because the CMS part of this is like just one thing. Like with AI, automation, and integrations, like I'm building this whole kind of system of integrations, of automations, of triggers. Like a new story comes in, it needs like for example, Love Holidays is a travel agency. They are resellers of hotels from like different vendors. They get like supplier information from and then they automate the editorial process of kind of taking all of these different hotels, bringing them together, use AI to help with that, accelerate that, to translate them into different languages. All of that is kind of part of, in our opinion, that's part of your CMS in a sense. Like that's part of your content operations, and we kind of want to move away from this kind of perspective of content management to more of a process-oriented view. Like I'm designing something that goes in time, that goes on forever. You need to think about it as a process, as a content operations thing. So that's what this a good content operating system is. It has a good database that's optimized for content, and this can mean some very simple dumb things that kind of was super rare. Maybe other systems have it now, but when we started out, like there was no way to embed content, like structured data inside text, and have that be curable and processable as a database record. Like to us, that was like, that's the obvious thing. That's what content is. It should be just, paragraph is just an array of a certain kind of object, and then you can have other kinds of data in there, and then that should be processable as just as well as any other kind of data. So that's like having a backend like that, supporting all of your needs in terms of automations and integration with other systems. And then one thing we're introducing very soon is compute. It should have, like we have, of course, webhooks, but like we're bringing that into the platform. So like you will be able to kind of just define your backend functions, your AI automations, and that will just be part of your content project. So when you deploy, you deploy both your schema and also all of these automations and integrations. And then of course on top of that, you need that framework to build to have full control of the operational kind of user interface. Like what are people doing day to day? It has to be, of course, super easy to build out, but it also has to be customizable. So the kind of data layer, the distribution system, the automation and integration system, and then of course the user interface from something that's super easy to build out, but then all the way to full freedom when you need to. And then of course I'll add to that right now, as we are on this DevTools podcast, I think interesting thing right now is that it was nice for a time to have this drag and drop that felt friendly for a while, to have like visual tools, and we resisted that. Sanity is very code oriented, like you have to define everything in code. And when I got Cursor and I got Warp, and I'm like, now I'm so happy that I can now, because now my kind of AI workflows can now do everything for me. They can build out whole content pipelines and help me do that, because it's all in code. It's all understandable by AI. It's all kind of able to be built up by AI. That's not, I guess, an important part of content operating systems right now.
Yeah, that's all super fascinating. I had the pleasure of working on a team that was building out a content pipeline for a media company like Food Network and HGTV, and they were using Adobe Experience Manager, which was, it's a tool. And the thing is, like the editorial team had a very bespoke like workflow, and the engineering team did a lot of work sort of bending to their will to try to cater to this workflow, because like you were saying, it's like those are your customer, you like want them to be really happy, really productive, and that's like the mark of a good content management system. So I guess my question for you is, like, the challenge was building like a content management service is that you have to kind of be everything for everyone, and how do you do that successfully without it making it either so generic that it's not useful, or like so narrow that, again, it's only useful for some people?
Yeah, no, I guess we are, like, by being programmable, we are cheating a little bit, because like it's very easy to add plugins and to customize things, and so like we are, of course, Sanity at its heart is very simple. Like it is deceptively simple. Like I think some people think it's just like some simple forms and some like very 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 generic stuff like that. The devil is in the details as you start like using that and realizing it's real time collaborative, and there's all kinds of stuff like that. And I think that to us that was kind of part of the like as like in my role as like initially founder and like the CTO kind of thinking, is to always be thinking about, at a certain level, these reusable general building blocks, like the way the database works, the way the APIs are shaped, the way we do the things, to make sure when we think about a new API or think about a new abstraction, to think about how they will be used for many different use cases, and try and limit the kind of number of things you have to learn. I guess some people will say at this point, like, there maybe are too many things, but there are a lot of things, features in Sanity at this point. But yeah, I think that, but I do agree, and also there is a tension there, because with Sanity, of course, that's a selling point. That's like what most of our customers tell us, is like the customizability is the kind of, that is where the conversation starts, and then they are happy about other things too. But like that's, and when we ask like, what's the alternative for you to like, what other products would kind of you compare it to, it would be like to build something ourselves. So that's kind of what drives people to use Sanity. Is like, sometimes I say it's a database with a weird go to market, or it is like a framework to build content operations applications. But I do also think it's kind of a footgun sometimes, because I realize sometimes I talk to especially very mature companies that are about to replicate a terrible workflow, because that's what they're used to, and like, because that's not always the right thing to do, because like this is an opportunity to evolve, and that's what we sometimes are struggling with, like with very mature customers who are then about to go down, and like I know for a fact that this is going to be terrible for you. I can see it already. I can tell you right now. But I realize that you're going to do this whole thing, and then you're going to be a little bit sad. Like, I hope that you remember I told you so, and I'm be here to help you when you come back. But I think that is the challenge, and because I think it is also a good thing to sometimes be very opinionated, and I think that's where sometimes we have, like in terms of that we are very opinionated as people, but we have been very much. Our language is always, oh yeah, you could do anything. Like, how do we do this? I can do it like in 7 different ways. So what we realize is that our users actually want more guidance, want more opinions, want more clear guidance, and of course they can do whatever they want. But we are trying to be more clear and prescriptive about like what would be the Sanity way of doing things. But like, you'll still probably find a fair amount of places where I say, oh yeah, you can do whatever you like. And yeah, for some people that's amazing, and for other people that's just